This is an introduction to Futurism, which was an Italian style or an Italian movement in the early part of the 20th century. And I actually have a very specific date for you, February 20, 1909. The reason that I can give you that number specifically is because the Futurists published a manifesto, a document outlining their beliefs and their practices and what they hope to obtain with this brand new style. The futurists explain to us that they're embracing modern life, and that includes a love of machines, of speed, of cities, of lights, of noises, of sounds, of progress, of change, everything that turns away from the past. And I do think it's important to note that it's an Italian style. And I have to ask you to think about the possibility that in the early 20th century in Italy, artists were getting a little bit tired of living in the shadows of the ancients, the Roman artists of the past, who also had Greek influence. So we have the Greco Roman world. But in addition to that, you happen to have the High Renaissance. We're talking about Michelangelo and Leonardo and Raphael. And in addition to that, you have the Baroque artists such as Bernini and Caravaggio. All of that was a lot to compete with. So the futurists are basically saying, let's break with the past, let's embrace modernism and turn to the future. The futurists were influenced by Cubism, but it was definitely a style that was based on a different ideal. They did turn to Cubism, often embracing fractured forms and an analysis of forms that were observed from different points of view and probably observed over different times. In other words, from different perspectives as time passes, as if you were walking around an object. This movement was begun by a group of young intellectuals who really did want to turn from the past and embrace the modern age, and in particular, the dynamism of the machine age. The sad part about this is that they do align themselves with the fascists and they embrace ideas associated with war and revolution. In particular, I'm talking about World War I, which I'll return to in a moment. The futurists were also, in addition to being influenced by Cubism, were certainly influenced by motion photography. That was being done, in particular, some of it, the important work was being done in the United States at the end of the 19th century under a man whose name is Muybridge. The painting that we're looking at right here, which is called Streetlight, was done in 1909. It was done by one of the famous futurists. His name is Bala, and he was interested in social change, in particular in embracing the modern. He also had studied the works created at the end of the 19th century by Seurat, who worked in a style that is frequently referred to as pointillism or divisionism, but using basically points or dots of color. What Bala is using in this image, however, would be V's that radiate out from the center to suggest the energy and power of the street light. This is his effort to convey the modern in our world and show us how good it is. Electricity for Bala was modern, and in fact, streetlights had only appeared recently in the city of Rome, this being done in 1909. The first incandescent light bulb that was created by Edison was done in 1879, which also, by the way, happens to be the first time that Muybridge actually showed a what we would call film today, or a true motion picture. By 1881, we have our first power plants operating so that cities can actually start to get streetlights that illuminate the cityscape in the evening. Our futurists, as we embrace the 20th century, are going to turn to this with excitement and see it with great possibilities for the modern age. And they also come to think that it's, I'm going to say, a utopian idea that the machine can lead us into great things in the future, which also, of course, implies turning away from the past. Let me just take a moment to read you what the artist actually had to say about this painting. And it goes like this, quote, above all, this painting is a demonstration that romantic moonlight has been surpassed by the light of the modern electric street lamp. From my picture comes the phrase, let's kill the moonlight. Okay, so looking at this, if we go right up here, we're actually going to see the moon in the background, but you can also see those V shapes that shoot out in complementary colors, which help to intensify each other with great energy and power, as Bala makes his argument that the modern streetlight is better. It surpasses the power and the authority of the moon. This is Bala's dynamism of a dog on a leash. It's in our book, Figure 9.7, and it's an icon of futurism. It is a pretty amazing composition. It shows multiple depictions of the doggy, and we do believe that this is drawn from motion photography, such as we see with the work of Muybridge. It suggests time photography in that we can get multiple exposures that are created or appear to be multiple exposures created all at once in the image, giving us a blurred image and suggesting movement. The image that I have in the lower left, which I'm having some trouble actually showing you move in the presenter view that I'm in, is by Muybridge, and it was a study of a moving dog. We do know that the futurists were aware of animal locomotion studies by Muybridge and his motion photography, which helped them in their creation of futurist images, such as this iconic little sausage doggy with all these multiple images of his legs as he moves and his little tail that's wagging. But you can also see, as we go up here, multiple depictions of the chain or the leash, rather, of our little doggy. All of these multiple images shown simultaneously add to a sense of movement, but at the same time have to convey ideas that relate to the passage of time. And this is my doggy moving. I'm hoping you can actually see the Muybridge. Uh, this is by the futurist who's generally considered to be the best of the lot of them. His name is Boccioni, and this is his City Rises. It was done in 1910. It can be located in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. So if you're interested in the futurist or other iconic images of modernism, that is a very, very good place for you to go. It is known, I'm going to say, as the place where you can see classic early modern art. This is figure 9.14 in our textbook, and what this portrays is a document to the power of modern cities. Cities filled with explosive energy, force, uh, and dynamism. This is actually the building of a city, and what we see is man and animal. Here's a human along a diagonal, and diagonals are very important compositional devices that help to convey energy and power. We see a human at work, another human at work, and at the same time, we see horses that pull and twist and strain. These animals, both human and horse, are pulling together to cause the creation of a city or the rising of a city. As they do this, they suggest the speed and the energy and the power of city living. Now, part of that is being conveyed not just with the diagonals, but also with the very warm and vibrant colors, the warm colors, the rich colors that are a part of this. Boccioni, as a number of other futurist images, also appear very strong, very perhaps even aggressive or assertive. The thing I do need to point out is that futurism is a very unique movement. Artists generally do not extol cities or machines or modern life. They tend to instead focus on the benefits of living in harmony with nature or living a slower paced life, perhaps a more contemplative life, but they generally don't support modernism and city life. This movement does, and thinks that it is a particularly positive outlook, provides a particularly positive outlook for the future. One thing I do have to point out, this is done in 1910. It is a movement that's not going to last long. It is going to fade and die out with the end of World War One. And you might be asking, well, why would this happen? And the answer is partly that the artists who enter the war, the futurists themselves, who fight in the war, actually, this thing that they thought was glorious, many of them die in the war. Others simply recognize the reality of war, see the horrors of war, and know that it's the machine that is causing the pain, the suffering, and the destruction in war, and no longer really wish to glorify it. So there is I'm going to say a lack of enthusiasm for the futurist ideal at the conclusion of World War One. This is another image that was done by Baccioni, I'd like to close out the Futurists with. It's his charge of Lancers, and it was done as a collage, which is unique to him in his work. It was done in 1915, and it shows a series of horsemen. And in the First World War, we still have cavalry. Cavalry will be outmoded as a result of the new machinery of the First World War. Rapid fire guns, artillery essentially, will make the cavalry obsolete. But in World War I, we still have horse soldiers. And that's what Baccioni is giving us. We have again a series of repeated images, in fact, overlapping images of horses as they charge the enemy with lances as the two sides clash, suggesting the power, the force of conflict of the battlefield, but also in this particular image suggesting that it is their side that is victorious. We do think that Baccioni was aware of Muybridge's motion photography, and I've got one that actually is appearing to work in the bottom left, so I'm hoping you can see my horse in motion here. In 1879, Muybridge was the first to actually show moving picture images in the format we might refer to today as a movie. This is what one of these originally would have looked like, and it consisted of multiple images on a plate that was spun very quickly and projected. These new forms of technology would have been available to futurists to see and would have been inspirational in the work that they created as they extolled new technology, new glories of the machine, a new sense of energy and openness to the future and the promises of the future. Again, though, a reminder, this movement does not last, and part of it is because of the harsh realities that are exposed in World War I relating to the reality of war in conjunction with the destructive nature of the machine. This is Baccioni in that photograph, in fact, and he is going to die, not be machine gun, but he is going to die in maneuvers. He is going to be a member of the cavalry. This is him on his horse, but due to an accident, he's going to fall from the horse and be trampled. So he is one of the futurists to be lost to World War I. Many of the other artists who do survive World War I come away with a very, very dim view of warfare, certainly not a view that would allow for the continuation of futurist ideals.